Welcome to our presentation of Extraordinary Gems at Lafayette College. My name is Mary Wilfred Hunt, and it's my pleasure to share images of spaces and artifacts from our campus that are seldom seen, and to share insights from experts across our Lafayette community. Let's begin with a tour of Chateau Chavignac, a gem located at the edge of campus. Michiko Okaya and Diane Shaw will tell you more.
I'm Diane Shaw, Director of Special Collections and College Archives Emerita.
And I'm Michiko Okaya, Director of Art Galleries and Collections Curator Emerita.
High atop Paxenosa Ridge, north of the Lafayette campus, stands an extraordinary home, the Chateau, built by Alan P. Kirby, class of 1915. In 1932 as a personal retreat for Lafayette football weekends, Board of Trustee meetings, and reunions of classmates, friends, and family. Kirby had visited the Marquis de Lafayette's birthplace in central France and instructed his architect, Donald Innes of Wilkes-Barre, to use the Norman French style he had been captivated by there. The house was completed in 8 months and given the name of Lafayette's birthplace, Chateau Chavignac. One unusual use of the house was as a place to sequester the Lafayette football team on the Friday evening before games on a second floor dormitory, on the second floor in dormitory style quarters. The house was endowed and given to the college in 1983 by the F.M. Kirby Foundation. The house today remains much as it was when it was built, a treasure trove of original furnishings and artwork.
Alan Kirby's interest in General Lafayette and the European history is evident throughout the Chateau's selection of British, European, and American paintings, prints, and decorative arts. Of special note are portraits of Lafayette by French painters, Joseph D. Court, seen here, and Ari Scheffer. The bust-length version of the full-length standing portrait given by the artist to the nation in 1824. The painting now hangs in the house chamber. The Scheffer painting is to the left. Joseph Duplessis's portrait of Benjamin Franklin was extremely popular, and he painted 8 versions to satisfy demand. An engraving of the portrait was used on the $100 bill from 1929 to 1996. And on the east and west sides of the Great Hall are 2 fabulous 18th century Flemish and French Baroque tapestries that depict country people dancing and carousing.
One of the little-known delights at Lafayette is the Kirby Room in Van Wickle Hall. Behind the iron gates and heavy drapes on the west end of the former Van Wickle Library Reading Room, today a geology computer lab, is the evocative recreation of Fred Morgan Kirby's library from his Wilkes-Barre home. You will know F.M. Kirby as the noted business entrepreneur and patriarch of the Kirby family, which has played such an important role in the development of Lafayette College. The room was a gift of Fred Morgan's son, Alan P. Kirby, class of 1915, and was added during a major Van Wickle Library expansion in 1938. The Kirby Room includes the fine walnut paneling, ceiling, fireplace, stained glass window, furnishings, artworks, and books from the original room, designed for Kirby in 1906 by the noted interior decorator Theodore Hofstadter of New York City. The book collection includes handsomely bound sets of literary works, as well as first editions. In addition to the portrait of Fred Morgan Kirby by Frank Salisbury, 2 lovely paintings grace the room: Daniel Ridgway Knight's Peasant Girl with Flowers and Marie de Terrell's Cattle in Landscape. The room was originally open for students as a special reading and browsing room, but at some point it was closed to use and remains so today.
Hello, my name is Drew Germanowski. I'm a geology professor at Lafayette College, and I'm going to take you to the basement of Van Wickle Hall to show you our flume. A flume is basically a big sandbox, a very expensive sandbox that is situated on a series of jacks, so we can automatically change the slope of the flume. Our flume is 2 meters wide, a little over 6 feet, and almost 30 feet long. We can change the flow by changing the rate at which we're pumping water through the flume, and we in fact feed sediment to this. So we use the flume to model rivers and to model river behavior. We can run it almost wall to wall, or actually wall to wall with flow, and study sediment transport at high rates. We can study bed forms such as ripples and dunes and how they relate to flow regime and flow energy. We also can run the flume at lower flows and model a river flowing through a valley. So one of the slides near the end shows a meandering river channel, and you can see bars moving through the river. And there are some little plastic dinosaurs and trees on the floodplain. So we can increase the flow rate and generate a flood and bury the dinosaurs and trees to show students how fossils are formed in the sedimentary record. And we use this flume in all levels of our curriculum. We've also used the flume for student faculty research. Students can see river dynamics in Van Wickle Hall, and then we can go in the field and show them the same thing in the Bushkill Creek. Once they know what they're looking for, it's easier to understand features that they see in the field.
The Kirby Art Study Center brings together for the first time artwork that had previously been stored in difficult to access areas on campus. A small portion of the collection was displayed in several buildings, including Kirby Hall of Civil Rights, the President's House, and the Chateau, but the remainder was unavailable for study and research by students, faculty, and visiting scholars. It was definitely a hidden treasure. Dedicated in 2019, the Kirby Art Study Center was established by Alan P. Kirby Jr. in honor of his father, Alan P. Kirby Sr., who assembled the Kirby collection of historical paintings and the Chateau collection. The Kirby Art Study Center is located in the original Black Box Theater at the Williams Center, located off the main lobby, adjacent to the art history lecture room, art gallery, and main stage. It is the perfect location for the study center. Renovations began in 2017. The state-of-the-art, secure, climate-controlled storage includes mobile shelving to house a growing collection of prints and photographs, and floor-to-ceiling height rolling painting racks. A glass wall separates the study room from the storage area, enabling students and visitors to view an ever-changing selection of paintings on the racks. The richly grained tables are made from boards milled from the English elm that stood on the quad near Hogue Hall until 2012. The college's collection of American and European paintings, photographs, prints, drawings, and sculpture, Native American pottery and baskets, ancient artifacts, and works from the Experimental Printmaking Institute are now readily and easily available for study.
If you had visited Lafayette College in the early 1960s, you would have been able to see no less than 4 Tiffany windows installed in almost all of their original locations. The 1898 Alcuin and Charlemagne window in Pardee Hall, the 1899 Sir Philip Sidney in Van Wickle Library, and the 1912 Ascension of Christ, and the 1916 St. Paul preaching on Mars Hill in Colton Chapel. If you had returned to campus 40 years later, not one of these windows could be seen. The two chapel windows were destroyed in the 1965 fire that gutted Colton, and the two other windows were in storage. The good news is that the two surviving windows are both spectacular examples from the heyday of the Tiffany Studios, founded by artist Louis Comfort Tiffany, whose special Lafayette College connection was his 1886 marriage to Louise Wakeman Knox, the daughter of the Lafayette College president, James Hall Mason Knox.
The Sir Philip Sidney and Alcuin and Charlemagne windows, now installed in Skillman Library, were designed by Frederick Wilson, Tiffany's most talented and prolific designer. Masterful use of color, an extraordinary range of textured and edged glass, and sensitive use of vitreous paint and color enamel on faces and hands are hallmarks of Wilson's artistry.
My name is Pam Murray, and I work in Skillman Libraries, Special Collections and College Archives, home to Lafayette's sword. I would like to begin with a brief description of the sword, followed by some historical information of the sword, beginning with the man himself, Lafayette, and how the sword came to the college. Lafayette's sword is a three-edged rapier with a blade of finely tempered steel and hilt of gold surmounted by a pommel, which is the rounded knob at the end of the sword, and it's shaped like a liberty cap, a classical symbol of freedom from oppression that became a major symbol for the French Revolution. The sword has a blade of about 31.5 inches long and a hilt of 6 1/8 inches. The sword shows considerable wear as a portion of its inscriptions are rubbed out. One inscription indicates the blade was manufactured at Solingen, a place in Germany noted for its fine cutlery. The other inscription indicates it was purchased at the sign of the Grand Monarch in Paris. One of Lafayette's most prized artifacts is the sword carried by the Marquis de Lafayette during the first years of the French Revolution. Lafayette played an important role in the early days of the Revolution, serving as a commandant for the newly formed militia, the Parisian National Guard. As a constitutional monarchist, the radical Jacobins targeted Lafayette in August of 1792. Hoping to evade the guillotine by escaping to America via Holland, Lafayette crossed the northern border of France into Belgium and was immediately captured by soldiers of the coalition of the Habsburg, Austrians, and Prussians that had declared war on France. Lafayette became a political prisoner for the next 5 years, and all of his possessions were taken from him, including this sword. When Lafayette was freed by Napoleon's treaty with Austria in 1797, all of his possessions were returned to him except for this sword, which his captors kept as a trophy of war. The sword descended in a Prussian officer's family until 1932, when a representative of the family, the Baroness Monica von Miltitz, presented the sword to Lafayette College during its centennial year with the words, "I, a German, give to this American college the sword of a distinguished Frenchman, with the fervent wish that these three great peoples may be drawn together in friendly understanding." This revolutionary sword is a tangible reminder of Lafayette's service and sacrifice in the great cause of freedom that led our founders to name the college in his honor.
Thank you for taking this amazing journey across campus with us. And a special thank you to Michiko Okaya, Diane Shaw, Drew Germanowski, and Pam Murray. We hope we revealed just some of the many extraordinary gems at Lafayette.